For some reason, it feels like Friday. I don't know why. I don't know why it feels like Friday, but for some reason to me, it feels like Friday. Maybe because this past couple of weeks have been kind of all mixed up because of the storm and then things getting cancelled, things being shut down, things opening up again. Anyway, I know it's Thursday, but it feels like Friday. And I know I'm late, but I've just let work get in the way. And now we have visitors, and I have to lead them to do this, which is kind of good because they're playing Scrabble and I don't play Scrabble, so always good. Today's reading is called, let me see, it's called Do What You Love, Kid. Do What You Love, Kid. And if you excuse me, a couple of things might get in the way here today. One is I'm getting over some kind of runny nose, and I just occasionally may need to blow my nose, so therefore I apologize. And, well, let's leave it at that. Do what you love, kid. 3 strikes may be out in baseball, but life is not baseball. And that was U.S. Representative James Clyburn. If at first you can't succeed, try again, was another famous Scottish expression. Ernest Holmes says, I recognize the harmonious self, capital S, that I am, and I know this self will find its perfect expression. And that was Ernest Holmes in Richer Living. That's on page 198. Once more, this is kind of cool. It's a personal story from Reverend Josh. He says, I remember the last day of my son's athletic career. I loved taking him to catch grounders and fly balls, and he looked adorable in his uniform on game days, trying to keep his attention on the game from the imaginative wonderland that is the right field. There's a school of thought that you should only do what you're good at so that you can excel at it. And there's another school that says you should keep up with what you're bad at too, so that you don't quite stink at anything, but you're only mediocre at a number of different things. He says, I wanted my son to know at least a little of everything. He goes on to say, I got the call while he was at baseball practice. The head coach hit Gavin in the foot with a pitch. Mom had taken him to the emergency room. I arrived and waited an hour before Gavin came out on crutches, a cast on his foot and the biggest smile on his face I had ever seen. That's when I truly learned that life is not about excelling at what you're good at, nor is it about making sure you're grandly mediocre at everything. It's about doing what you love. Gavin, you just do what you love, kid. We'll let life take it from there. Reverend George Stanell says, what if today you just did what you loved and let life take care of the rest? Don't just do what you're good at. Don't just try to fit in, but do what you love. I know of no greater way to set the creative medium in action. It's good advice. And it's probably what all of us should strive for. But let's face it, in this kind of world, you cannot always have the choice to do exactly what you love. I remember one of my mentors, Bob Proctor, said that if you love what you're doing, you'll never have a job in your life. But I know some people are stuck in situations, jobs, etc., where they don't love it. But right now they feel that they have no alternative but to keep doing this in order to make a living, to feed themselves and their families. And there's a couple of schools of thought on this. One school of thought, which I don't ascribe to, and Creative Life Spiritual Center does not ascribe to, and which we actually talked about after the soul session on yesterday, on Wednesday. I thought it was Friday, Thursday, yesterday, Wednesday, which is, and actually it was talked about during the soul session, and that's this deal about how did you attract that? In other words, if somebody's sick, somebody else says to them, well, how did you attract that in your life? Or if you're in a poor paying job, but you feel stuck in it, how on earth did you attract yourself into that situation? No, that's called spiritual malpractice. Nobody does that to anybody. Do we attract things in our lives? Yes. But it isn't as simple as the fact that somebody has attracted something phenomenal and somebody has attracted something lousy. It's just not that simple. Why? Because there's 8 billion people on the planet, all putting their thoughts and feelings into the universal subjective mind. And it's all going to get worked out somehow. And if you want to say they're putting it into the field or the mind of God, whatever you want to call it. So it's not as simple as saying somebody's attracted something. You know, as a general rule, when we talk about spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer, what we're saying is that we can focus our thoughts and feelings into that universal field, the divine field, and we can deliberately attract things into our lives. And yes, at a subconscious level, if there's a lot of stuff going on with feeling, then that does tend to attract as well. But it's completely wrong to say to somebody, why or how did you attract that into your life? Because the answer is, we don't know why things come into people's lives. We don't know why kids are born with birth defects. We just don't know all these answers. Why? Because it's complicated. You would have to be at that divine level to see it all and to understand it all and to be able to figure it all out and why it all happened. But right at this level, we don't know. And the people who tell you they do know, they don't know. They may think they know, but they don't know. So the lesson I learned from this reading is going back to the 4 agreements, Toltec wisdom, is this: always do your best. Because if you always do your best, whatever the result is, you can still love yourself and you can still love what you do. And if you're in a job that you don't like, then you can do spiritual mind treatment to envision a job that you would like doing. And as Bob Proctor said, if it's something that you love doing, it won't be a job anymore. But nobody knows the length of time it takes for these things to materialize. We just don't know. And all those who claim they do know, they don't know. Unless you are a kind of super spiritual genius on the level of Jesus and maybe others close to it, then unless you're at that level, you're still working with it. You are at the level maybe of belief, but you're not at that level of knowing where something definitely is actually going to materialize. And when you do get to that level, and all of us do get to that level sometimes, even if it's very briefly, then that's when things start coming into our lives that we want. And if we're at a lower level, we just keep plugging away at it. And eventually stuff comes in. I was re-listening to a session I had with an EFT client today, and I had told her about the story. I've mentioned it once, maybe twice before, about a friend I knew who wanted a red sports car. And she produced this vision board, and she faithfully looked at this vision board and faithfully, with great feeling, envisioned herself having this red sports car that was on her vision board, and it was in her living room, bedroom, kitchen, wherever it was. But she did this faithfully for a while. And then one Sunday, the doorbell rang. I think it was a Sunday. And it was her then boyfriend who she went out with, but it wasn't really, from her side, it wasn't serious. From his side, partly it was. And he told her to come out in the driveway. He'd put her keys in his hand. And in the driveway was a red sports car with a big ribbon around it. She had envisioned getting a Corvette. The car in the driveway was not a Corvette. She politely declined. She thanked him very much, but she said, no, I can't accept it. And he went on his way. I don't know what happened with the relationship after that. But when she went back in the house and she double-checked the vision board, the car on the vision board that she thought was a Corvette, when she looked very closely, it was not a Corvette. But what it was the car that was in the driveway. So she had applied thought and feeling to such a degree that this card manifested. This isn't a made-up story. It's actually a true story. So bottom line is that we can attract stuff in our lives. But if we don't, we do our best. We just do our best. And when we do our best, we can actually be satisfied with ourselves. And when we're satisfied with ourselves, we can start to love what we're doing. And when we can choose, the recommendation here is that choose something that you love doing rather than something that somebody else wants you to do, or something that might pay a lot more money, but it's not as satisfying to you. So those are my thoughts and feelings for today, and would love to hear your responses. Or you ever see them? Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, wherever it is. Just give us a like and let us know. And as I said, just remember this. Nobody should be blaming you for what you have in your life right now if it's not something that's working for you. It happened, somehow it happened, in this interconnectedness of all humanity, it happened. We don't know exactly how it happened, but we do know this, that if you keep your mind focused on doing something that you love, eventually, there's a really good chance that what you love doing will happen. Can I guarantee it? No, because I can't see into your mind and you can't see into mine. But I know from experience, from people who told me, and what I've experienced myself, that when I focus for long enough on something that I really want, something like that shows up in my life. So that's all I got to say. I will see you tomorrow, hopefully around about 5 o'clock. And the Reverend Lisa will be on tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. And just another quick reminder, if you want to know more about this thing called spiritual mind treatments or affirmative prayer, then check out the link, read the description, info@creativelife.org if you want more info or if you want to sign up for it. And why do you have to pay for these classes? Because it costs money for us to put them on. We spend our time doing a lot of this stuff. And we believe, just like it says in the Bible, that a workman or a work person is worth their wages. So when we put effort into stuff, we believe that we deserve getting paid for it. And that's really as simple as that. So until next time, take care of yourselves. Namaste.